Hey, welcome to YOLO with ToLo, episode 36. I cannot believe it's been episode 36 already. Let me see if I can add Lonnell on here so we can get going. This week we are talking about envisioning your best self. So we're going to be talking about vision boarding and talk about Lonnell's kind of magical experience. But this is our first of the year, so we're excited to see you, Lonnell, on. And it's connecting. I'm going to take a sip. Hey.
Hello.
Happy New Year. Good to see you.
How are we doing? How are we sounding? Are we echoing?
I think audio sounds good, right? Denise and Kevin are our producers this week. You know, to be honest, Facebook has sort of been an issue with the audio, and we've been researching it, and it's been echoey back and forth. So we're on now.
Hey, Darren.
So
right. Absolutely. How was your holiday?
Oh my God, it was amazing. So, I went to Peru.
Must be nice.
And it was just so magical. For anybody who's been to Peru, you have to fly into Lima first. I recommend you stay there for a few days. I mean, they're known for their food, and their ceviche and everything is so good, and things are a lot cheaper than America. And then from there, you have to fly into Cusco to go to Machu Picchu thing. I've been there twice already to Machu Picchu, but it's sort of like a family reunion. And it was just amazing, kind of like spiritual retreat for me. And I'm excited to talk more about that as things progress. But it's so nice to go away and be able to zoom out and just kind of like be.
Just to have some zen.
So how was your holiday?
Mine was awesome. I was in California where you weren't.
Okay, I know. I saw on your IG. I was like, oh, I wish I was there.
So I caught up with family. It was wonderful. Spent about a week with my mom. It was great. Saw my sister. Hung out with my girlfriend Raylyn, who lives out there, and we went to like touristy things like the amusement park and then the mystery house, and we just had a lot.
The Winchester Mystery House. If you guys have not gone, you have to check that out, right? It's a trip, isn't it?
It's really cool. You want to talk about crazy? Yeah. It's like, okay, too much money.
Okay.
And she's nuts. Okay. But it's good, though. It's definitely worth visiting. So it was wonderful. It was very relaxing. And I went back to Atlanta for New Year's and went to church and brought the New Year in at church doing, every year we do this burning bowl, letters to God exercise, which is a wonderful and powerful spiritual exercise that I do every year. So symbolically burning the things that you want to get rid of, that was always powerful. And I took my good friend Tao came with me. And then when you do your letters to God, it can be whatever you want. I do it as an intention writing exercise. And then they collect them all at church, and then they pray over them, and then they send them back to you like around Thanksgiving the next year. And it is so amazing to go back and see where you are, like the end of the year, as to where you were with the intention that you set at the beginning of the year. It's a powerful exercise. I do it every year now. So
speaking about like inspirational exercises, I wrote a blog. It's on goinspirego.com about how I don't set resolutions because you're trying to fix something, and I believe that we're all sort of enough, and we're just kind of learning more as we kind of spiritually kind of go through this life cycle. So I set intentions in my heart, and then I like to take action and have accountability partners like you and other people. And for me, I like to think of it as, okay, this is my connection to God, and saying, this is how I want to serve, right? And how will you support me in serving this, and show me the way, show me the opportunities. And I think that when you do that, it's just kind of amazing. Like when you actually either put it down on paper. I've actually told either clients or students or mentees that if you write down specifically what you want, and it just becomes real. And then you take the little steps and actions, and if it's meant to be, it manifests. And for me, it's a lot of the times it's been authentic to how I want to serve, and it's always manifested. And so I know the big thing like you do is vision boarding. So today we're going to talk about envisioning and realizing and manifesting your dreams. But for you, it's more of okay. So for me, I have every 6 months now, because we just love it so much, two spiritual friends, Kate and Keely. We sit together and we literally like look at the last 6 months, saw what our intentions were, what works, which intention still feels good and aligned, and which ones we need to let go. And thanks, Kevin, for posting that, the blog. And so, and then we kind of like do a check-in. And I think that it's amazing what you've been able to do with your check-in, with your vision boarding, and how your meeting the Obamas came true. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's get to segment one, YOLO's Hot Topics. Everybody and their mama is talking about government shutdown.
Right.
I don't want to get all political, but, you know, it's definitely affected a lot of people that we know, and just the whole government in general and all the federal workers, right? But you and I always like to look for the silver lining. Like, I love that we're aligned in that. We always say, what is this trying to teach us? Or we're kind of, like Michelle Obama says, like, when they go low, we go high. What can we learn from this whole government shutdown thing? So it's been nice that I've been away out of the country in Peru and kind of detached from it. How do you deal with like all this, the news and the stressors and everything coming in?
Well, I try to limit my intake, first of all. With any level of toxicity, I try to limit my intake. And sometimes I'm guilty of watching too much news or paying attention to clickbait. So I really have to monitor that myself. But I know, like, there's always a deeper story, or even like when something comes out, when there's, you know, and there's one particular narrative, you see like a clip of something. For instance, like the kid with the Native American guy on the National Mall. You know, you saw this one clip of it, and I was like, oh, that's not pretty, but I need to see the whole story. I need to see the whole
The kid
story.
With the MAGA hat,
yeah,
the Make America Great
right.
hat
So you
again.
still want to, so there's always
allegedly yelling at the Native American elder, and yeah.
Right, but there was so much more going on to that. So everyone was wrong, and you know, but there was still more to the story than was really initially put out there. So I try not to. I try for myself. I try not to automatically assume that I know the whole story by a clip that I've seen. If I'm going to tell people that don't judge my whole story by the chapter you walk in on, I'm going to have to practice that same thing when I'm looking at
that's so good.
External situations. So for me, it's just trying to balance some of that without all the heat. You know, because everybody, if it fits your narrative, you're quick to jump on it and start attacking everyone. It's like, well, that's not moving us forward. So I try not to do. For me, I'm trying to get a comprehensive picture of things and not react with my initial emotions, especially when you're angry.
That's really powerful what you just said, and you know, about how you shouldn't judge somebody on the chapter that they walked in.
Yeah,
but sometimes it's hard.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. It is, but.
Right, because you know you want to be like, oh, no, you didn't.
Right. And you know full well it's like there's a complete journey going on here, and you stepped in on what you think you know. Bye, Felicia. So if I'm gonna require that for myself, I've got to apply that and give other people the benefit of full scrutiny of the story, of the comprehensive story, not just the little clickbait or.
Another thing, that's a really good point. You know, another thing that I try to do too is limit myself on social media, because when you're on social media, like I follow news organizations. That's how I started my journalism career in TV broadcasting, right? In the news, reporting the news. And so I sort of limit how much time I spent. And we can talk about digital detox later because we got a lot to talk about there. But one of the things that I've tried to do when I got back from Peru is to just check my, you know, IG or Facebook or whatever. Just, I'm allowing myself 3 times a day. Doesn't always happen, but at least I check in real quick in the morning. Check in instead of just useless scrolling. I just check in to see if I got messages and just scroll real quick, and instead of just like going down the rabbit hole. Check in the mid-afternoon and then check at night, and that's sort of it. But one of the things, the point I wanted to make about this whole crazy, without getting political, this government shutdown thing is something I learned about, you know, from Mr. Rogers, because, you know, I'm a big PBS fan, and I used to co-host a show, California Heartland, with PBS, and well, I used to watch him a lot, and I remember one of the things that he said was that his mom would tell him when he was a little boy and would watch, you know, scary news or, you know, see something bad happening. His mom would always say, focus on the helpers. And let me tell you, one thing that really gets me excited and kind of is a silver lining of this all is people are woke, eh?
Oh, yes.
Right? And secondly, there's so many awesome people not even just in America, people and companies helping these furloughed federal workers, but people from Canada, like Kevin, if you're able to please post some of the links on, like, you know, there's celebrities that have reached out to help these furloughed workers. George Bush Sr. Delivered pizza
Junior.
to some of the furloughed workers.
George
Junior.
If George Bush Senior
Junior. No,
that's
Senior's
another
not. Yeah.
Okay.
We're channeling. Yeah, Junior. Thank you. And it's people. There's free gas in Maryland that's being given out at certain stations. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And shout out to Carole King the musical. If you haven't watched that, that's amazing. I watched it twice, and my girl Celicia plays one of the Sherelle sisters. They're apparently giving out free tickets to furloughed federal workers. So we'll have all those links there, you know, in the comments below. But that, to me, is what America is, what makes America great, and what is so beautiful about all of the, you know, the craziness that's happening in the world.
Yeah, we do tend to bond together or come together in times of crisis. Still, regardless of political affiliation or whatever division is going on in the collective narrative, we do still tend to come together briefly, typically, during times of crisis. So that is wonderful, and just to see, it's just the fact that, you know, I went to an airport today. I had to thank the TSA workers for coming there, because I know I could not be showing up to a job. How am I even getting to a job if I don't have a paycheck? How am I putting gas in my car? So, you know, even if you can't give something monetarily, you can at least acknowledge someone that's doing something, or there are different ways that you can help. And that's the beauty of what we're seeing. It's like so many people are pitching in to help these people, as they should be. I'm like, hello, you work for the federal government, and let's not even talk about all the crap that, you know, we can't even access that we're paying for, like our museums and our parks and these different government agencies. So it's like, okay. So,
So one of the things that I always believe in, and I started a whole nonprofit, Go Inspire, Go Around It, is that we all, every single one of us, I don't care if you have no money in the bank, I don't care if you have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, that we all have the power to make a difference. And we all can do something very small. How you interact with the, you know, the people in your lives, or that barista, or that person walking down the street. So that is what's kind of like beautiful in terms of what has kind of manifested from this whole shutdown and from all the craziness that's happening. Speaking of manifesting, should we talk about the Dump the Hump? I really want to spend some time, on something that has been viral and trending up in your life, right? And let's talk about vision boarding. I have been wanting to do it. I was telling Kevin today about how I wanted to do this with him and some other friends of mine. So you're big into vision boarding. Tell us about you put Michelle and Barack Obama on your vision board, and you met them in January, right?
I did.
What?
I did. So
what?
Isn't this crazy? And it would have never even happened. I couldn't have even imagined the way that it happened. But see, I even have them as my little can you see my little screenshot back there?
Yeah.
So literally, I was my friend G, who runs he's a co-founder of the Gentleman's Foundation, which is an organization I volunteer for in Atlanta. He and his son and I were at their condo, and we did these vision boards. And one of the things that I put on there was an image of the Obamas. And I was like, my intention behind that was, I want to meet them. It could just be for a photo op, as far as I'm concerned, like my IG own up people. But but I knew that there was just something about, that kind of that level of excellence, whether or not you agree with them politically. Just the fact that someone that can handle that kind of pressure cooker with so much grace, I was like, I just need to rub a little bit of that energy. So that was in February of 16, right?
Wow,
so
okay, 2016.
Yeah, and the only reason I remember that's because when we did the board, I wrote the date on the back of it, on the back of the vision board. So that's how I know it was in February of 2016. And I kind of just let it go. You know, not when I say let it go, I let it go spiritually. So a lot of people think, like vision boarding is not
surrender to the fact that
surrender
to the fact that it happens the way it should happen.
The way that it unfolds the way that it's supposed to unfold. And so I always kept that in my mind. I always, whenever I would see them on television or across Twitter, I always just, that was a reminder to put myself in that emotional space of what would it be like when you meet them. And every time I would see something about her, I'd be like, oh, yes. this is how I would feel. This is what I want to invoke. This is what I want to happen in our meeting, whatever. So I would do that constantly. And then they started doing the promotional release of her book last year, earlier last year, that was coming out in November. And I just kept feeding that energy and that thought and that positivity that, this will happen. And then two things happened. When she did launch the book tour, she started at the United Center in Chicago, and Oprah interviewed her and co-hosted it.
Yeah, because you saw her. You were in the same room.
I was in the second row, and mind you, those tickets sold out right away. And I literally got a ticket just about an hour or two before the show started. So that's a whole nother, And when that happened, when I looked up and was able to secure a ticket, I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be great. The universe is doing its work. And so I get there, and my good friends ToLo and Patrick, they are actually also seated in the second row, but they're on the opposite side of the second row.
That's crazy. And you guys didn't even plan to be there together.
No,
you didn't know you were there.
Didn't know we were going to be there together. And they had got the meet and greet, so they went backstage before. I didn't get to go to do the meet and greet that day. But when they came back, they were so excited, and I was so genuinely happy for them. I was like, oh my God, my friends are so excited. I'm glad that moment brought them so much joy. I'm like flipping out.
Not jelly, but excited.
No, and that's the thing. If you can't root for someone else's rise, if you can't be genuinely excited for someone else, then how do you expect your own blessings to unfold? They won't, boo. So I was thrilled for them.
Amen.
And I'm still happy for them just because that moment brought so much joy. And then my girlfriend Cheryl Action Jackson from Dallas, she told me that she was going to see Mrs. Obama when her book tour came to Dallas, and she had a meet and greet. And so when she posted her picture, I was so like, oh my gosh. I'm like, my turn is coming. I know my turn is, I don't know how my turn is coming, but my turn is coming. And, but again, I was genuinely excited for my friend Cheryl because that moment brought her so much joy. And so after that, I mean, I kid you not, Toan, it may have been another week or so, I got this email saying that you've been assigned, through my job, that you've been assigned an upcoming trip assignment that's going to require Secret Service clearance. So they need to get your information, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, but you know, that could be a president, vice president, secretary of state. It could be anyone. Yeah. And that doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened. I've had one of those before for President Clinton, even though I didn't get to meet him in the end, everything changed.
Or it could have been somebody you did not want to see. No, okay, anyway.
That part. And so,
okay.
So I get that, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then, like, maybe a week later, then it came up that it was going to be in Hawaii. And I was like, well, the only person that I know in Hawaii around Christmas time would be President Obama. Maybe, maybe not. Long story short, eventually the details were revealed, and I couldn't say anything. I knew like a month beforehand. Can you imagine being told that you're going to be traveling with the Obamas, and you have a month before that happens, and you can't say anything?
Yeah.
So, so I was like, OMG. So finally, all the details go out, and then we get to go there, and I'm on the plane with them for 2 days. Okay.
Wow.
And we weren't on short flights. We were, and oh my God, President, they both were just so incredible. They were so incredible. They were everything I thought they would be, and so much more.
Aww.
So, by the end of the first day, they're on a first name basis. They're saying my name. It's not written down anywhere. It's like it's etched in their memory. I'm just like, OMG. I was like, is that Michelle Obama? In fact, the first time when Mrs. Obama got on the plane the first time, I was in the cabin, and she starts walking towards me. And by this time, the president had already come on board and introduced himself. And then she starts walking, and I'm just like, okay, hold it together. In my head, I'm saying, hold it together, Lonnell, hold it together. And then I just go, and I start like tearing, and she starts blushing, and she just walks over and just hugs me. And then I introduced myself, and I was telling her what a wonder, what an honor and pleasure it is to have them on board. And she was just wonderful. We talked about everything. Of course, I told the president that I knew Oprah because I was saying I was telling Mrs. Obama how I was at the Chicago thing when her book launched. And so the president said, I mentioned Oprah. I shamelessly name dropped Oprah twice in the conversation. And the president turns to me and says, so did you fly for Oprah? And I said, no, sir, I met her on Twitter. And he went, I said, I kid you not, sir. I said, I met her through Twitter. He was like, so I explained the whole story, of how I actually did meet Oprah through Twitter. And then his face just like lit up. He's like, that is the most incredible thing. You've got to be the only person in the world that's ever happened to. And I was like, there are actually a few of us, but it was really wonderful to, you know, just to have that, to, you know, share that whole story of how that connection,
Yeah, that moment.
how it unfolded. And we just talked a lot. We talked so, I was like, oh my God, they are just so wonderful. So wonderful.
Anything surprise you about them? Like any surprises?
Mm-hmm.
Aside from them, like it wasn't a surprise that they were so wonderful, probably that they were even more wonderful than you thought, based on the conversations that we're having. Was there anything that surprised you, or and anything that you talked about that, you know, that was surprising?
That I would tell you? No. But
no. Or that you would tell the world? No.
No, I was pleasantly surprised, because for me, when I really want to meet someone like a prominent person or a celebrity in the past, sometimes I've been disappointed. But fortunately, I wasn't with Oprah, and I certainly was not with the Obamas. So the fear, if you will, would be like they would have been a disappointment. But I don't think the universe would have aligned the meeting to happen that way, in such an intimate way, for so long, if they weren't going to be amazing. Everything I thought they would be and more. And the dogs too. I love Sonny and Bo. They were both awesome too.
That's so amazing. And if you're just chiming in right now to this episode and you haven't watched any of our YOLO with ToLo episodes, they're saved on our Facebook timeline. However, you know, many of you may not know, if you're just chiming in, that you also met, like you said, Oprah through Twitter.
And the vision
she
board.
Was also on your vision board. So let's go to segment 3, talk to ToLo. And this week, so I want to talk about how you were saying on a side conversation, we're just having a quick catch up when we both just got back from our travels, that your Instagram and Facebook just blew up, and you were so surprised that people were so moved by you meeting the Obamas, and they were like asking you, oh my God, vision boarding. So I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. You want to answer some of those questions, and if you at home have any questions to ask Lonnell, you can ask them now. We'll try to answer them. But like, what are some questions that came about?
I think the question I got mostly was either what is vision boarding, or how do I do a vision board? And literally I got like dozens of these questions after that happened. Like I said, I knew people would probably like the photograph. I had no idea they would be so inspired in this way. So basically, first, it's not magic. It's not like just taking a picture and putting it up on a board and then like, woohoo, hocus pocus, and then voila, then poof, the Obama's in your living room. Doesn't quite work that way, people. It'd be nice if it did, but it doesn't. So
how does it work?
Basically, you have to understand that what it is, the actual vision board itself is really just a physical representation or a physical reminder of the spiritual seeds that you plant into your consciousness. And it's a reminder to constantly water those thoughts. Always keep yourself mentally prepared to receive whatever blessing it is that you're asking for. So you always, how is this, if you've got a new car, or you've got a husband or a wife or a spouse or something on it, well, I don't know, whatever you put on your board, your health, a new lung, whatever it is, how will you feel when you get that? What is the emotion that will evoke? How will you carry yourself? How will it change you? So you have to really just kind of be in that whole mindset subconsciously at all times. And that's what the vision boarding is about. It doesn't come up on a time frame. It's not your time frame. The blessing will manifest when you're ready for it.
Yeah. Well, yours happened with Obama's. You said you posted them on your vision board in 2016, and it's 2019 now.
Yeah,
like
it was almost
2.5, 3 years later.
It was 2 years. Yeah, almost 2 years.
But what I love so much about what you're saying, though, is what I call like a belief, right? And I believe that we are so connected to something else. We're all energy. So there's like even how we met. Like I was in LA, met a friend of a friend who was like, oh my God, you gotta meet her, Laura, she's inspiring. And then she was about to bring up your name, and you, living in Atlanta, all of a sudden pop up in this new restaurant, random, in some esoteric place in LA. That's how it
works.
And I think that, you can just, I there's no such thing as kind of believe, because kind of believe is like being kind of pregnant.
Right.
Either you are,
you do or you don't.
Right. So you had no doubt. Just like with me, I had no doubt that I was going to be a TV reporter. However, I was it wasn't the TV reporter that, that was like, oh my God, that I'm going to be a failure if I don't reach that. But what it was what could I do to serve and with my gift of gab or communication skills.
Right.
And Kevin is like walking by faith.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, so hard for people to believe. And, let me tell you, like last year, we talked about this in another episode. It was really hard for me. Death in the family, sudden and all that. And guess what? Like walking through the fog, I know it's here to teach me empathy and compassion and all this stuff. And then I walk away like this year, I'm just so filled with this joy and this warmth that came out of that coldness. So in terms of some really practical, with the little time that we have here for this segment, some practical, like words of wisdom or some seeds or some tips on vision boarding.
First, rule number one.
What you gotta say?
Rule number one. The first thing that you have to do is realize that you deserve the blessing. So a lot of people don't feel that they're worthy of their dreams. It's like, because you're so overwhelmed with what's in front of you that you don't actually connect with what you're actually not entitled to. You're not even stepping in your true power. You're waddling in your fear. So it's like,
I'm receiving that. I really feel like this.
Yeah, so that's the first thing. You really have to understand that you deserve the desires of your heart. You deserve your dreams. You're worthy of them. So once you actually really sit in that space, then they'll manifest more quickly. They just do. They do.
Yeah. Oh, any other tip before we move on?
And then just be consistent. So you've got to because the more you claim to get something, like, okay, I get that spiritual principle. Be patient, be nice, serve, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Forgive. But the more you claim to get it, the more that the universe is going to throw an opportunity at you to apply it. So do you look at this? Do you look at this thing as an opportunity, or do I look at it as a struggle, or this stuff doesn't work? So it's like, if you're not getting the lesson, so you've got to commit.
I'm gonna try a vision board, but what I do is I do words because I love words. I love visuals too, so I'm wondering how things will manifest. But I do love the whole idea of like writing stuff down, because I'm a writer, and specifically, like, what do you want? How, like specifically, what do you want? And Kevin will attest to this. He's always like, right, Kevin? He's just sitting in the other room. He's like, oh, sure. Like, of course it's going to happen. Like, I was like, I want to go to this convention, but I don't got the money to go to this convention. Or like if I get paid to go, not even get paid for the trip and the lodging, but if I get paid to speak or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's going to happen. And then like a week later it happens. That's happened a few years in a row. Okay. So, I just believe that you gotta. The thing is, we keep talking about being in the present moment, and when you are in the present moment, the magical thing that happens is all these opportunities and things show themselves to you, whether it be a beautiful flower, or it be you popping up, or whatever in my life, or a friend or a partner. If you are not aware, you're just kind of tunnel vision and not seeing the gifts.
Right, and you got to pay attention. You've got to pay attention because the whole journey of getting there, that's really the sweet spot. You don't find that out until you actually get the thing that, once it manifests, you're like, okay, this is nice, but really the sweet spot was getting here. So you have to pay attention, because that's where your next right move is coming from. If you're not paying attention, you're just delaying the process, and you're causing yourself more frustration. Get the lesson. When the universe slaps you with something, just stand up and be like, girl, I hear you have my attention. What am I supposed to get so I don't have to repeat this mess again? So once you do that, then it's like,
Timothy,
then
hi.
You can move forward. Hey, Timothy. And it's just critical if you want to manifest things in your life. And it's not on your timetable. You don't get to say, oh, okay, well, I need this to manifest in this way in 30 days. It might manifest, if you just let it go, it might manifest in 2 days in a way you won't ever anticipate. So you've got to be open to that process.
Oh, so Timothy, we miss you too. We're talking about vision boarding and envisioning you 2.0, or your best self, your best life. Suzanne says, I like it. The entire journey is the sweet spot.
It really is, Suzanne. It really is.
Even through the yuck and the muck. Like, I was gone through so much tragedy last year and just in my life, and it just made me more present you know, and it made me more connected. And while you're going through it, I promise you, no matter what you're going through, it does get better. There is
Yeah.
hope. It's what is it here to teach you? And
I just had
girl, I hear you. Yes.
If I can share quickly, even this morning, I woke up with a situation and I was like, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to make this work? And I was literally so stressed. I did not even want to get out of bed this morning. I was like, okay, you got to go to work. I said, I can't go. I can't do all this crap. How am I going to make this happen? And I was like, okay, I know what I got to do. I have to meditate. I have to meditate. Of course, it took me a long time to even get into the meditative zone because I was freaking out about how am I going to make this happen. And then, but once I was able to complete my 15, 20-minute meditation, I took a few deep breaths and I was like, okay, I feel better. I still don't know how this is going to resolve itself, but I feel better.
Yeah.
So now I can actually go on about my day because what I've done is I've spiritually released the how am I going to resolve this? Because that's not for me to work out. For me, it's to actually speak the truth and be done with it. And that's what I was able to do.
Yeah. And the how and the people and the circumstance and everything will come to you. That's the thing, but you have to have that belief. All right. Segment 4, digital detox. Don't you love that my digital detox is written like on paper? Oh, God.
I love that you still have those signs. I don't even know where the ones that I wrote went, but I love that you still have them. And they're in good condition.
It's okay. I will always use the sign, even when we get a show somewhere broadcasted. You know, it'll be out there. Timothy says I only put one thing at a time on my vision board that I want the universe to hear my clear thoughts.
That's a good point, Timothy. I don't feel mine up either. I put more than one thing on there, but there's a lot of white space on my vision boards. Exactly, because some people fill them up with everything, which is fine. But I do a few things at a time, and they tend to manifest.
That is some wisdom. I love it. Okay, so segment 4, we're talking about digital detox. So there's this article. I was kind of just Googling for fun, like digital detox 2019, you know, because let me tell you, when I was in Peru and I came back, I was at my CrossFit box, the gym, and this guy was like, oh my God, I couldn't keep up with your Insta stories. Like, it seemed like you were always online. And I was like, actually, there was a lot of times where I was in some village that didn't even have, I didn't have cell phone reception because cheap Asian. I'm just like not trying to pay for, I don't need it. But I'll just be like, okay, I'll check in at night when I go back to the house or the hotel. And I said, you know, actually, I just took quick photos because I love the art of taking a photo. So I took the photo and that's it, not on my phone a lot. And at night, batch, like, you know, you can batch upload on your stories. So that's what I did. And so I wasn't really on it. And the beautiful thing is when I came back, I was just like, really haven't been on my phone a lot. So this article says, though, it says, the actual Wired article that Kevin, if you could post it below, it says why it's high time you ditch the digital detox nonsense. And it talks about how studies show that we're about on the phone about 4 hours a day, some of us even more. But it talks about how just give that part of it is like give up that thought of like you being able to ditch, you know, ditch it and everything is being programmed now to just work within our lives like Alexa and Google. And it talks about how things will just pop up on your, you know, your TV, or it won't be screen anymore, it'll just pop up in front of your face and all this stuff. And you know, I don't know about that because I think that, you know, there are people who are just like, I have a Google thing here. But they're like, I'm not going to have that on my phone. I think that's part true and part not. But the thing that my point is, social media is not a bad thing. Technology is not a bad thing, but it's how you use it.
Right. I read the article
and
also.
So
go ahead.
Yep.
No.
Okay, good. No, so that's all.
I read the article also, and I don't know that I agree with it. It was sort of like, you know, kind of just lay there and take it. You know, I was like, no. I still think that I need to detox from some of that. Yes, it's becoming a little less maybe invasive with Alexis, but is that really more invasive just because it's not the actual smartphone in my hand? If the hep is over there in the room listening to everything that I'm saying, it's still just as invasive. I still feel that energetically.
Yeah, energy.
Yeah. So I still, I that's where I disagree with that. I was like, no, you just got to detach from the whole thing. You got to pull yourself back and be in the present world. AI is, which the artificial intelligence, yes, it's advancing daily. It's going to be a part of our lives. Mm-hmm. That's fine, but it needs to complement your life, not take over it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is like when I look at your trips, it's not like, ooh, boasting. Oh, look at me, I'm fabulous, or look at this and that, whatever. You know you are, but you don't have to like show that off. It's like, oh, I'm following along on your adventure of what you're sharing. It's not like, oh, look, I'm at the Bahamas. Nah. It's more like, look, I love that you frame it in a way that is so authentic to you. And I think that when you look at social media, the interesting thing is that you could see who the folks are that are narcissists, because it shows up there. It magnifies who you are.
Right.
And I think that with technology, it could be like the Black Mirror. If y'all haven't watched Black Mirror on Netflix, you need to watch it, because it does talk about how technology could be your best friend or your worst nightmare. And I and I think that I'm not trying to digitally detox everything, because, like, guess what? When I'm traveling, sometimes I need to know I need to be in the know, need to know if there's a safe place I need to go. I need GPS nowadays. Not needed, but I want it.
As long as you know how to read a map, but yes.
Yeah. It's just about everything we're talking about here. Every single segment, every single episode, it's about being present and aware. And I don't like being addicted to anything. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. But I feel like technology is that one of the things that pulls me in, and that I sort of started feeling like an addiction to. Like, I'm always on my phone, or feeling like I got to respond to people right away. And the truth is, you don't. And so I've been really more mindful, and that's the goal, is just being mindful. So that article, I don't really agree with, that you just got to be like, oh, well, whatever, just give it.
Right. I've never been one to just lay there and take it. So let me just say, there's got to be, I've got to have some input.
Okay. I'm so glad, though, that I manifested you in my life. You manifested me, and Kevin,
there's much more to
Denise,
manifest.
and all y'all at home.
Let me tell you, I've just recently updated my vision board after the whole Obama thing. I was like, child, let's just really start getting out there with it all, because I deserve it all. Why not? And so do you. That's the whole reason for sharing it, is hopefully to inspire someone else, that they can have this dream. Don't be mad or jealous or envious of what you perceive to be my dream, or however you perceive it to be. Just, if you can be genuinely happy for someone else, let me tell you, that will expedite the flow of blessings into your own life. It just does. It just does. And you are worthy of your dreams. You can have it all. You can have whatever you want, but you just have to be willing to do the physical and spiritual work for it. And I find personally that vision boarding is a good tool for that. There are many paths, so vision boarding is not the only
and I think
go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's a real tool too. You know, the funny thing is, like, when Kevin or Denise or either like call me about good news or email me some good news, or like I see your good news through Insta, like, my heart is happy. It wasn't like, oh, why don't I meet them, or I want to know them, or this and that, because you know what? If you're supposed to meet them, you will meet them. And if it's supposed to happen, it will happen.
And if I can, you can. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It reminded me of back in the day when I was going to the University of San Francisco. We were taking this radio class, and one of the things was to just talk about, they'll give you a topic, and you have to impromptu kind of talk about it. And then I remember at the end, we were sort of talking about our dreams. For some reason, dreams came up, and we were talking about that. And I was like, one day I just really pray, God, please, that I use my voice and get paid because I need sustainability. Let's be real. But I was like, get paid to speak and inspire and help people, and it's just totally manifested into something great. And I've been able to do all that stuff. Even motivational speaking and all the broadcasting stuff. But it was like from that kind of intention that I had, and writing it down and kind of visualizing it. And I think for me too, is taking, some of the stuff is taking proper steps, because I think some of us are control freaks, and I like to have control of certain things. But at the same time, I've learned to, like you said, it's not the why you should know, because that's authentic. That's what attracts it. That's a magnet. But the how is not, most of the time, not up to us. How do we meet? I almost was driving on the I-5 back from LA on a shoot to San Francisco, and somebody's like, oh, you got to meet Laura. And then Laura talked about you, boom, And so I'm just so blessed that we have this. I'm so blessed that we have you guys at home. And if you guys, Kevin says here, should your vision be driven by good reasons, or is it okay to indulge in something?
Totally self-serving.
Totally self-serving.
Listen, Kevin, it's your dream. It's your vision. Just be careful what you ask for. Know what you're asking for.
Exactly.
So you can ask for either one, but when you get it, don't have your lips stuck out, because the universe gave you what you asked for. So just be careful what you ask for.
So we'll just leave it at that. If you like what you hear and see, thanks for joining us. If you like it, then like it, share it. we know that it's made a difference in a lot of people's lives last year, and some major moves that people have made, like selling their house and moving to another country has happened because they're listening to this. And I know that I've changed in some way, somehow, through this conversation today, especially, but on all our conversations. So thanks for watching. Like and share.
Mwah. See you guys.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Episode 36. Okay, see you later.
Bye-bye. Bye.